Halo fans have been waiting years for something new, and while we are getting campaign evolved in July, the big question is what's next for Halo's multiplayer? Campaign Evolved doesn't have that. Halo Infinite has been sunset. MCC is not getting new updates. What happened to Project Tatanka slash Ecker? Is it going to be a standalone multiplayer or live service? I want to take a look at all the rumors and facts from people that are insiders, journalists, fan speculation, because if you're like me, you're hoping and coping for something Halo multiplayer focused, hopefully by the end of this year at Halo Fest, with a release soon. If you're like me and you love Halo, I could be your third favorite Halo YouTube channel. All you have to do is subscribe. And if you enjoy this video, leave a like, hype it up if you're on mobile, and let me know in the comments down below what you want to see out of the next Halo multiplayer title.
Am I right, Marine? Sir, yes, sir! Damn right I am.
This is probably going to be a longer video, so if you want to, just put it up in the background. We're going to, I guess, leaks and rumors technically count as spoilers. Take it with a grain of salt. All that good stuff. But it just feels like there is going to be something Halo related with all this news and Matt Booty talking about how they're focusing on Halo. Campaign Evolved is coming out. Halo Fest at the end of the year. But let's talk about what has been concrete announced. That's Halo Campaign Evolved. It is a ground-up remake of Combat Evolved. I'm sure everybody knows all about it. Unreal Engine, blah, 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 blah. It's going to be on PlayStation. Campaign only, though. But I think there's a couple of reasons why there is no PvP multiplayer. And I think that's important. Like I said before, there's Halo MCC, there's Halo Infinite. If Campaign Evolved comes with its own multiplayer, and then there's another standalone multiplayer, or Halo 2 Anniversary Part 2 and Halo 3 Anniversary come out with multiplayer, you're really cannibalizing the player base and just, segmenting them across multiple games. So I think it's a smart idea that there is no Campaign Evolved multiplayer, because I do believe that there is a standalone Halo game that is dedicated to multiplayer, or it's just going to come with Halo 7, although I think Halo 7 is way down the line. So I personally believe that it's going to be its own thing. Now, Halo Studios has confirmed that they're working on multiple projects in development right now. And while we've heard that Campaign Evolved was kind of outsourced to other studios, I do think that their focus is going to be on multiplayer. Now, Infinite came out in 2021 after a year of delay. Its launch was rocky, to put it gently. There was matchmaking bugs and no forge and all that stuff. And again, this left many fans frustrated and also was not a great first impression for those who are looking to hop into Halo for the first time, especially with it being on PC. It's unfortunate, but that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. And Halo's had such a rough go at it with like launches and launching feature complete. And I know that Campaign Evolved is also going to quote unquote suffer from this, because people are going to be like, oh, it's not a full-fledged Halo. I have already seen people be like, $50 is too much for just a campaign and all that jazz. There's no firefight. I get all of that. I also think that they wanted to focus on the whole Halo and Unreal Engine thing and trying to do, the whole Campaign Evolved remake while also having some type of multiplayer was just going to be too much. But there is somebody working on the next iteration of Halo's multiplayer. And this is where we're going to talk about some of the rumors, because people have been leaking and, spreading rumors about this since like Halo Infinite launched. But it is Project Tatanka / Project Ecker. Now, there's a lot of, leakers, industry insiders and stuff, Rebs and Kaba, and I think Idle Sloth. All these guys are saying that they've heard multiple things about Project Ecker now. That it was going to be a battle royale game that was going to come into Halo Infinite. Certain Affinity was working on it. Then it was like going to be an extraction game, but now it's shifted again. But back in the day, once they, I guess, canceled what Ecker was going to be and how it was going to come to Infinite, once they, kind of decided that Infinite was no longer worth putting all this time and effort into, and Halo was going to shift to Unreal, Certain Affinity was, kind of brought on board to prototype that game now in Unreal Engine. Allegedly, they had imported Halo's, stuff, its assets into the old Tatanka system into Unreal Engine, but that was like back in 2023, and clearly we are in 2026. So nothing really came out of that. But now, after being a battle royale and then apparently an extraction shooter, the leakers and rumor mill is saying that it's going to be a super big team battle mode. Apparently, it's Halo 5 Warzone on steroids. Allegedly, teams of Spartans and AI squads would roam a map, gather resources, fight enemy teams, and maybe that's where some of the extraction elements will come in. I believe Rebs called it a Warzone style, super big team battle mode. And to be honest, this is where I think Halo would thrive because Halo doesn't have to follow a regular BR game mode or a regular extraction type of mode. Halo needs to make those type of game modes its own thing. It needs to iterate on them. It needs to be different, unique, and better. And I do think that Halo using, elements from like Halo Wars and stuff like this RTS giant map kind of thing, I think is smart. I think Halo thrives in its big team combat. Having like a battlefield slash battlefront Halo game, I think is where Halo would do massive. Of course, I love the regular arena 4v4 rank stuff, but I think the future of Halo is more so this type of thing. And there's been several news outlets that have also covered this. So don't think that this is just kind of like made up. I really don't think that any of these guys, after trying to get the reputation of being like honest and stuff like that, would jeopardize saying this stuff if they didn't think it was true. So if all these rumors turn out to be true, what do we take away from it? That Ecker exists kind of as a zombified thing that is now Halo Studios' next multiplayer project. They've apparently taken it away from Certain Affinity. I've heard rumors about Certain Affinity, and they're not great right now. I've also heard that it's got deep Spartan customization, and I think somebody even said elites. I don't believe that. But it's unclear if this thing is going to launch as a standalone title or if we're going to have to wait years for it to be integrated with Halo 7. Again, I don't think that's the case because I don't think that you can wait that long in between Halo multiplayer games. And again, none of this is confirmed, but there are multiple sources citing this stuff. These are unofficial leaks. 343 has not commented on Ecker specifically, so we're just going to have to wait and see. But again, I feel like Halo Fest at the end of the year is probably going to be telling. Speaking of Halo Fest and the future, let's talk about those possible futures for Halo multiplayer. I think there's really only two ways that this is going to go. It's either going to be the standalone live service platform, Halo Hub kind of thing, or a traditional sequel with Halo 7. Both have pros, both have cons, and both have challenges. If you go along with the leaks, the live service route is going to be the one that's going to happen. Having these live service games and constantly adding new content, but the bar for these games is extremely high. Will this thing be free to play? Players expect a polished experience. They also hate aggressive microtransactions and monetization. And even Halo Infinite was free to play, and it had a pretty massive player base. But again, with those launch issues and stuff, and even with it being free to play, you can see how all of that can sour. A traditional sequel, I think, would please some people. A great campaign and a great multiplayer, just like the good old days. But if they do that, we're going to be waiting until like 2028 or more further away, which would just be insane to think about. We would be getting close to a decade of no new multiplayer for Halo. And I think that that is so incredibly detrimental. Looking around at the community and how they respond to these rumors and stuff, it kind of seems split. And that's why I was asking you all to comment down below. I've seen a lot of people very skeptical of this whole Fortnite style live service game. I know people miss the days when Halo was a quote unquote full package. And I get that. I think that 343 slash Halo Studios has to show that they've learned from Halo 4, Halo 5, and Halo Infinite. But other people, they see potential. Like even myself, I think of a super big team battle sounding amazing. Warzone was one of my favorite modes ever in Halo, even with the microtransactions and the cards, Rex, or whatever they were called. But having like a Helldivers type of mode to go with it, PvE stuff, I think that Halo definitely needs to expand on firefight and PvE style stuff because I feel like that's such an untapped and underdeveloped aspect of Halo. I have seen devs comment from Halo Studios about community and co-op and how important it is in campaign evolved. I almost said combat evolved, campaign evolves design, and I think that that's telling. Let's talk more about if this game is a live service and how it can avoid the same pitfalls as Halo Infinite. Well, it is notoriously known that the engine for Halo Infinite, the Slip Space engine, absolutely sucked. It took forever to do anything. It was just a spaghetti mess of code. They had to hire contractors, and by the time they learned how to use it, they were already gone. And you can say all you want to about Unreal Engine and Unreal Engine 5 and I guess 6 going forward, but it does have good graphics. It does have good scalability. A lot of people in the industry know how to use it. So I would think that the cadence of content and the content pipeline would be much better. A live service game needs a steady content roadmap, new weapons, new maps, new events. And quite honestly, a lot of players have unrealistic expectations when it comes to games and the amount of content they get. I think about Destiny, but I think having Unreal Engine would greatly help. I think Forge and content creation, not as in like a YouTuber, but like user generated content, is such a beloved part of Halo that the next iteration of multiplayer absolutely has to have it. Infinite's Forge was eventually well received, and I don't know if there will be any limitations with the Unreal Engine and Forge, or if Forge has to be redone, or it's got to be renamed to like something else because it's not the same. But I know that Fortnite has like a map editor and all that stuff, and letting players create new maps and new modes is a huge long-term value add. Nobody in these leaks have said anything about Forge or anything like it in Ecker or Tatanka, but to me, it should be a priority. Just imagine supplementing that content pipeline with monthly community made maps and modes. Halo thrives off of its community and its community creations. And this is the part where it's going to get controversial because Halo is on PC now. I personally don't own a console, so I am happy to play on PC. And I know a lot of people are like, "What the cheaters and stuff like that." Apparently, people don't know that you can also cheat on console, and you can actually just go down to Best Buy and buy a Zim, which is basically like getting an aimbot on console, anyways. But I hope that the game comes to PlayStation. I think a free to play Halo multiplayer game on PlayStation, adding another ecosystem for Halo to thrive is a good idea. I know it's controversial. I know people are like, Xbox has got to have exclusives. I don't know if you just saw, but they just raised the prices of Xboxes again. Like asking somebody to switch from PlayStation or, to go buy an Xbox right now doesn't really seem like a very smart plan. So that's just my hope. I think the more people playing Halo, the better it is for Halo, especially at this point in time. And there's a lot of risk involved with this, especially if they go this, live service route. Sony has lost years and years of chasing that games as a service dream. They're shutting down Destiny and stuff like that. People say the world doesn't need another Fortnite. And the amount of damage that happens to the reputation of these games and devs with a failed live service game is astronomical. I also think the community trust is something that Halo Studios has to earn back. And it's not just with like Campaign Evolve, but it's these next like projects that they're releasing. Halo will always be under a microscope, whether it's from old fans or the media or, fans currently. It almost has unrealistic expectations to live up to just because the original games were so amazing. But if they can figure out how to revive Halo's multiplayer scene, have this giant new mode, I think is huge. But I also feel like it's going to be make or break because if the next iteration of Halo fails, I think the game and franchise does go on ice for a little bit. Even though you can argue that it's already been on ice because of when Halo Infinite launched and when it was sunset and the amount of content stuff like people aren't playing Halo right now. So I'm not sure that people have franchise fatigue from it. So where does that all leave us? Well, nobody knows for sure except for Halo Studios and Microsoft, and I guess maybe if there's other studios working on stuff. Campaign Evolved is going to be out, in July. I'm excited to play that game, but also worried. But again, what do you all think? How do you feel about Halo right now? Are you excited, apprehensive, apathetic? Will Halo's next multiplayer be this Fortnite style platform, Halo Hub, or will it be a more traditional game coming with Halo 7? Again, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit like, hype the video up on mobile, subscribe for more Halo news and stuff like that. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.